First, we will start from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So, when and how this war can be ended? So, if the war stops right now, who is the winner?
In your opinion, Ukraine is an independent nation today, now? Is Trump reliable, and the relationship with Russia and the United States will improved by him?
So those American scholars or political elites who want to fix the ties with Russia and use it to against China, they are making a mistake, right?
No.
Stop.
各位破圈的充电的听众和看官朋友们，大家好！现在我们人是在莫斯科的一个会议室里，具体的一个地点非常神秘，我们就不告诉大家了。我们从镜头里面已经看到了有大咖来袭。
是的，
今天我们要采访的是杜金教授。
是的，
非常知名的一位俄罗斯的，无论是国际观察还是哲学家，对于我们来说是一个请教学习的一个机会。所以今天这期破圈，我们请到大咖来和我们来聊一聊中俄关系，聊一聊二战，聊一聊俄罗斯自身，聊一聊国际秩序。
没错，这个是我的第2次面对面的采访杜金教授。想必这1年过后啊，这个俄罗斯也发生很多变化，世界发生了很多变化，想必他的想法也会有很多新的东西跟我们分享。
没错，所以今天我们就很荣幸来到这里，那我们就和教授一起聊聊天，好吧 ？OK。Professor Dugin, we are very glad to have such an opportunity for an in-depth conversation. So welcome to our interviews, break talks 破圈 the Chinese name is 破圈 Okay, I think I'm the second time to meet with you, yeah. But this is the first time to face with you, and I know our partner.
This is my third time. Yeah,
Okay.
the last year the same place.
Yes.
And we met each other online when you have a conversation with Mr. John Scheimer, Mel Scheimer. And now this is the third time. So in Chinese we said this third time will be old friends meeting. Yeah. Yes.
I think we will be old friends with each other.
How about say hi to our millions of followers?
Yes.
Look at that through that camera.
Yes, so I'm very happy to speak with Chinese audience. I admire absolutely the great China as culture, civilization, as independent and sovereign and great power. I believe in the past of China, in the present China, in the future of China. So I'm always very glad and happy to have the opportunity to meet my friends, Chinese friends, and to speak with Chinese audience.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic. Okay, so maybe the first is Mr. Yang beginning.
Okay. First, we will start from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Last year, in the same place, I remember that you said Donald Trump will win the election, and it happens. And now the United States has changed its stance on the Ukraine issue and trying to play a mediator. But at this moment, we can see that the situation is still very complicated. Ukraine, EU, and United States, they all have different views. So when and how this war can be ended, or we can see the ceasefire between the two sides?
So first of all, I think that the Trump really wants to put the end to this conflict, but he doesn't know how. He is in the position, he declares openly that is Biden's war. It is not his war, it is Biden's war. And being organized and provoked by the globalists, the enemies of Trump, by deep states against which Trump fights, he has all the reasons to try to put the end to this. In order to concentrate on other issues, for example, competition with China, Middle East, Canada, Greenland, domestic challenges. So that is not, it is not anymore his war, American war, but he has no idea how to get out of it. So when he starts to suggest something, it is totally unacceptable for all. So on one hand, we see goodwill, some very balanced and I would say realistic attitudes, and goodwill to stop it. And we appreciate that. And that is why Putin behaves himself very careful in front of Trump, because he appreciates, and we appreciate his goodwill. We don't want to irritate him, to tease him, to say maybe unpleasant truths to him, respecting his general position. That is one thing. So he tries to put the end to the conflict. But all the other participants don't want that. That is important. Not only Ukraine or EU or Russia. So nobody could be satisfied absolutely with what we have. We couldn't freeze the situation because that will be accepting something impossible for EU that started. Globalists who now are in charge of EU, Macron, Starmer and Merz, they are, in our eyes, real war criminals. They have provoked this war against us, and they still want at any price to defeat us, to impose on us strategical defeat. So if it stops now, they means their defeat. Zelensky will be immediately overthrown by a neo-Nazi who will continue to do the same thing, to attack us. And if we stop the war right now, we, Russians, without having liberated the territory we planned to liberate, that will be considered as defeat inside of our society. So nobody except Trump really could find the immediate solution on the battlefield. So freezing the battlefield is impossible for Russia, for Ukraine, and for EU. And more than that, Trump could not oblige everybody to accept his conditions because he could not grant to nobody something that is in the realm, in the dominion of the probability. So that he is a little bit in a strange position. We support his will. I think many people in the world would like to stop the war. And we support his will and his willingness and his attitude. But in the reality, in present situation, it is impossible. And that means that the end of the war and ceasefire and all peace talks and everything will be postponed for uncertain quantity of time. So that will be postponed until the moment when everything will be changed, either in political level or in battlefield or in global relations, or there will be the new conflict that will attract all attention. For example, China against Taiwan, and the Ukraine will lose totally its relevance for anybody, because this time that will be for serious. And I think maybe something other. Nobody expected, for example, this war between Pakistan and India, and if escalation would follow, that could create totally new conditions. And or for example, new element, Trump has broken his relations with Netanyahu. Recently, some days ago, that changes a great deal. So the war in Ukraine will be the end of the war will be postponed until some element will arrive. We could not just imagine it. Maybe military victory, maybe some economical disaster or something like that, or some unrelated events in Greenland, for example. If there will be the war between US and Canada or with Denmark, so we immediately overflow all the territory of Ukraine or something like that. So we could not say, but in present situation, the ceasefire, in my opinion, ceasefire, peace talk or something like that is totally, that all is totally to exclude. And that is impossible.
So you mean the conflict will still continue?
Yes.
In the very long time.
Yes.
And
the only thing Trump could say, "Oh, I'm totally in total despair. Nobody hear me. I am going to step out." That will be decision. So that could lead to the solution and to our victory, because the most difficult to us, it is not to fight against EU or Ukraine, but to fight against United States of America that totally and fully supports Ukraine. So if there will be no more direct involvement of United States, as now it is the case, so I think the situation will considerably change.
so you want to see that situation happens in the near future? That Trump just give up? I don't want to support Ukraine anymore.
Quite possible, I
Quite
think.
possible. Okay.
And Trump can't sleep.
But okay, so in the past 3 years, the war has changed a lot for both sides, Ukraine and Russia. And so what's the gain and the loss for the Russia and for the Russian people? I believe that this also changed you as well. So what's the gain and the loss?
So the losses are huge, to say the truth. First of all, the loss of lives of our parents, our beloved ones, and that is, we could not feel that or compensate it with anything. So that is the huge the sorrow of losing our men and women and children, and that is the death of so many people around us. So, and that is terrible. But at the same time, I think that in our case for Russia has changed a lot during these 3 years in a very positive way. So we were in the smooth situation of the decline. So Putin tried to freeze this decline. Mm-hmm. Putin tried to avoid the wars, but the Russian economy, Russian society was decomposing step by step, not accepting Western values, accepting liberal economy, accepting capitalism that eroded the moral spirit of our society. This modernization and westernization did many bad things to our economy. We were dependent totally from the West and from the other, and that was this decline. And with this war, we started to get out of such situation. We started to rely on ourselves, and we started to restore traditional values and regain our sovereignty. Seriously, this time seriously, to develop our economy, relying on our own resources. We have discovered real multipolarity. We have discovered our relations with such good and great friends as China. We have discovered the other good friends in Africa and Latin America fighting, or in Islamic world, fighting against global hegemony of the liberal West. And that is new situation. So we have awakened, and I think that is very positive. So now we are on the rise. Russia is not in the decline, but on the rise. But we see that we have overestimated our military capacity. The army was in such deep decline, and nobody remarked that. So that was so huge corruption, absence of modernization. So the loss of any normal understanding of the technological challenges in the war, and without war, we couldn't prove that. So that was the disastrous state of our army was a bad thing, bad news we have discovered, and very stable and very resilient stand of our economy. We thought quite opposite, that our economy, liberal economy, will be broken after with all sanctions, and our army will show the beautiful results. Quite opposite. So we didn't know our society. Our society was in decline, and now it began to reaffirm. And the quite opposite is in Europe or in Ukraine. Ukraine in full disaster. So that is the progressive degradation of the quality of life, of ultra-nationalism that erodes the minds of Ukrainian people. That is neo-Nazism that perverts Ukrainian society, and there are huge losses of European economy. Now it is in decline as well. So in that sense, we are winning. I don't think that the war has really affected the United States. It's just that some burden of globalist hegemonic event that doesn't mean too much to United States, but nevertheless, it is not. It didn't give any positive results as well. So neutral. That disastrous for Europe, positive for us, deadly for Ukraine, and neutral for United States. So how I can evaluate the respective
So if
losses.
the war stops right now, who is the winner?
Nobody except Trump.
Trump?
Okay. Okay. So you don't think Russia is a winner?
No, absolutely no. We didn't liberate our.
So what makes Russia a winner? What will be?
So absolutely, the cease of the end of existence of independent, political, sovereign, nationalist Ukraine. So and that is not just warmonger position. So that is geopolitical calculation. The cold geopolitical calculation, nothing else. Because without the control over Ukraine, we could not pretend to be sovereign pole. In geopolitical and economic, historical and diplomatical way, we could tolerate independent Ukraine with neutrality, but we need some proof that we could control that. We could not say, "Oh, please be neutral and we will be happy." That was the case. And being neutral, Ukraine didn't represent such challenge, but the things changed, and now there is a war. So it cannot be tolerated in the future to say we will hope you will be neutral or friendly. So we need to have some guarantees. So you will be obliged to be friendly or neutral, and we should have a tool to control that, to secure that, and to keep that precisely like that. As in Belarus, with Lukashenko, we have such leverages and such security in our common state, common security treaty, and so on. Now with Ukraine, after this coup d'etat made by Nazi, we could not be sure if we not control all the territory of Ukraine. Only that. Without that, no guarantee that situation not will be changed in the future. So, and we don't say that openly, but that is so.
Okay, so let's talk about Ukraine. Okay, you know, the last year I have a very interesting experience. I went to Switzerland to report the Ukraine peace summit, and I asked the President Zelensky a question.
He has a chance to ask the question to Zelensky during the press conference.
Yes, and you know, the President Zelensky gave me the impression is very strange man and contradictory person, just like the Ukraine gave us. So one side they talk about all over the world, she is independent nation, and the other side we saw the Ukraine remains heavily influenced by the Western control. So my question is, in your opinion, Ukraine is an independent nation today, now?
First of all, Ukraine as nation didn't exist in the past, doesn't exist in the present, and will not ever exist in the future. So there is no such things as independent Ukrainian nation, because that was just the partly of Russia, partly of Poland, partly of Austria. They had chance after the fall of the Soviet Union to be independent nation and to build it, and they were obliged to accept the existence of two societies. Eastern society, Eastern Ukrainian society, and Western Ukrainian society, and they should be somehow managed, kept together, as for example in Belgium. So the Wallons and German parts. So there are the country nations that consist from two parts, but they should be somehow adjusted. They should be taken in consideration, both of them, and not impose one identity over the other. So the Ukraine has lost this chance in the present, and starting or provoking the war against Russia, the Ukraine has lost the chance to become independent nation in the future, because it will be destroyed. Second, much more limited consideration, how we could say about independent nation of the Nazi society, ultra-nationalist, totally dependent from the West. So without the West, they could stand 1 week. So we will be in Lvov in 1 week without this absolute help, economical, political, diplomatical, military from the West. So Ukraine depends absolutely from West. So they could not do anything without the confirmation or certification of the West. And now the problem for Ukraine is, so they have two masters. Now they are one slave of two masters, because Brussels and Washington, they diverge more and more, and they both are masters of this small slave. And the slave is a bit in a schizophrenic way, because they have chosen Biden and Kamala Harris. They thought that this globalist master will prevail in the United States, and they have made a kind of pact with him. So he will be master, and there will be the only one master. Now there are two. Both claim you should behave like that. And this poor and aggressive and crazy slave tries to somehow to cope with that, with this fight against the real friends, real brothers, against us, and turn apart by more and more diverging will of two masters. So how we can speak in such situation about any amount of independence? Zero. That's minus. That is minus an independence, not zero. Less than minus. Ukraine is that is very tragic.
So back to the last question, the Ukraine got what? Maybe got two bosses. One is Washington. Two is
another one is in Brussels,
Brussels,
from Europe, yeah.
So the next question is talk about the Trump. He's a very interesting person for us. Trump said he can end the war in the 24 hours, but now we saw it is failed. And now we want to know how do you think about the Trump? Is the Trump reliable, or could the Russia and the Ukraine war truly end because of them? And the relationship with Russia and the United States will improved by him.
So first of all, I have written recently the book on Trump, on Revolution of Donald Trump. It is published as well in the United States, and it was given to Trump by my friends. I have no idea about his reaction, but the fact is he was given my book about him. So I consider Trump mostly in positive way. So I think he is more than person. He represents some very interesting and very important historic tendency inside of the Western society, and first of all in the United States, that refuses to accept liberal globalist agenda, and that is serious. Trump has used this tendency, growing wave, but the wave is very, very huge and very serious. So there is a deep crisis of global liberal ideology and politics and the practice, the theory and the practice. And Trump represents this profound crisis of globalization, of liberalism, of individualism, of capitalism, of left liberal strategy and ideology. And I think it is very serious. And that's why he has won. He has won not just as some chance, by chance, but he has won by necessity, historic necessity. So he is in historical dialectic way much more than himself. So Trump is more than Trump. Trump is tendency. Trump is history. And this history, it is the end of the history. So the end of the history, there's liberalism without limits, without borders. And now there are emerging borders inside of this global world, and a new world order appears and transpires through this globalism, and that is multipolarity. And Trump, in my opinion, represents this Western or American pole of multipolar world or great power world order, great powers world order. So that is serious. In that sense, he is reliable, not so much as person, but as tendency. And with this tendency, we need to work to trying to come to agreement about how this multipolarity, how this global powers world order should look like. We need to define that with him and with China. and maybe with India. So we are living now in 3 polar or 4 polar worlds, and 3 or 4. It is not yet sure, but India as well is going to play a very important part in the shaping of this world order. And that is serious. But at the same time, Trump now is hesitating between accomplishing its mission of great global great powers world order and the inertia, the huge inertia of unipolarity of globalism. And he is oscillating, he is hesitating on this situation. And Ukraine is precisely that. His promise to end that was based on his will, and that is sincere. I consider it to be sincere, but at the same time, he lacks understanding how to do that. So that is just good wish, goodwill, and not enough understanding of how what it will cost to anybody. So in that sense, I think we should be very careful with him now, supporting his anti-globalist tendencies and trying to establish mutual understanding with Trump, but obviously defending our national interests that we could not discard or we could not easily give away. It is impossible.
So do you think he can effectively fix the ties with Russia?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we have very few real contradictions if we accept realism, political realism in international relations, and calculate our mutual and national interest. We see almost no contradiction. So we see some the place of competition in Arctica, and that's all. So all the other issues we could find that is totally different with China. I think rational calculations of mutual interests, national interests between China and United States gives us the picture of the real growing contradiction, because either China or United States, nowhere, either Russia or United States, is the situation in the world, including in Arctic. Arctic, it is for the Arctica in the future. But now, the growth of China, huge growth of China, has filled so many voids including in the United States, in American economy, in global industry, in high technology. So that is growth that obliges two countries to be on some kind of at least trade war. So it is about the recognition of the greatness of China. It is not about the will of the United States of America to stop it or aggressiveness of China. No, that is objective tendency. If there are two powers, so you need third. And Russia could play here, being much more less economically than China, and less than United States and other aspect, but at the same time, Russia could play extremely important role in balancing that, having beautiful relations, no competition at all with China, almost no competition with United States, and friendly now in alliance with China, but in the future possibly improving the relations with the United States. It could not be at the price of cutting our relations of China. Nobody thinks like that, nobody here in Russia. So our friendship with China is stable as stone, as rock. So that is the rock of our future. But I think that we have the very large space to feel to improve the relations with United States in the future, and that could serve to the interest of both of United States and China. So creating such triangle between USA, China, and Russia, we could help to much more stable and peaceful relations between great powers. Without any doubts, these three are already accepted, recognized by everybody. Three great powers. We could establish some kind of multipolarity, inviting, as we want, the other to join the club, as in the BRICS or maybe in other organizations. So, but it means to reshape the world. So there is no more anymore bipolar world. It is obvious, but there is no more anymore one unipolar world. There is multipolarity, emerging multipolarity. In that sense, Trump could be part of the process, positive process, and we could improve the relation with United States basing on our national interests. But Trump now is a kind of trap, because the globalists, they try to put him more and more in the Ukrainian conflict on the Western side in order to block that. And that will be deadly trap, because in such situation with hostile Russia and such huge competitor as China, I think Trump has no chances. So humanity will be against him. And that is what I think the globalists want to do with him.
So those American scholars or political elites who want to fix the ties with Russia and use it against China, they are making a mistake, right?
So that is American way of thinking. So I have spoken with Mearsheimer, I have spoken with Stephen Bannon. So they think you could not just have friendship. You should have friendship against someone. So the friendship is inconceivable for them. So if we are friends, so we need to have some common enemy. So that is their manner of thought. But I belong to the other multipolar tradition, and I could imagine, and it is very realistic and probable, in my opinion, to have good and friendly relations without having necessarily the enemy. Or maybe I consider this common enemy different. I agree, there is the enemy, but it is not China. Neither China, nor Russia, nor United States, but globalists. We could make from them scapegoats. So my idea is to conclude trilateral, historical, strategical pact to evince, to destroy, eradicate the globalists, the liberals, all through the world. And that will give us the chance to work together in the concrete fight. For example, we could help to Trump to annex Canada and Greenland, to declare some conflict to European Union and to Democrats inside. So the Trumpists, they have already destroyed USAID. So they've made some dodge with Musk. They've made some plan how this common anti-liberal front could look like. Now some of them invite us, Russia, but they wrongly and erroneously they have put China in the globalist camp. That is not so. China is great global power, but not globalist. So China is global, but not globalist. So, and I think we need to give them the correct knowledge of how China could be friend, because China, it is civilizational state. It is not liberal democracy. It is something else. And in that sense, I think that they try to behave in the old way, but I think they need to rediscover and rethink the multipolarity. That is not just something that we had in the past. Multipolarity is something totally new. It is a multipolar world order based on civilizational states, as my friend Chang Weiwei has described in his great book, Civilizational State.
So I thought the points words that is balance. In your opinion, you think that China, United States, Russia can balance the world?
Yes,
the world?
absolutely. And
Really? No Europe? No India?
Stop. First of all, India is the most likely member. Most likely.
Okay.
India is almost there. So that is my controversy with Mearsheimer. He refused. He refuses to put India on the same scale as the United States, Russia, and China. And I think that India should be recognized inside.
Those three are great powers, but India is a growing power.
Yes,
right?
yes,
It's a
yes,
growing
yes.
power.
That is. I have different.
So you think India is already a great power?
Yes, I think India is already a great power and will become greater in the near future if it will continue some main elements inside of its in its society. So they think more and more about to become civilizational state. There are some inertia, some wrong choices, but I think that India could become great power, abandoning anti-China strategy. So India should be independent and sovereign as Russia, not to play against one great power on the behalf of other. Yes, as Ukraine, for example. So India should become totally independent, and it will be next great power. European Union could be another great power, being liberated from liberal democracy and this junta that still rules the Europe. So I think that, and that's in that sense, I think there is a very interesting tendency in Europe, Euro-Trumpism. Euro-Trumpism, populists. But all this anti-liberal and pro-Trump powers are very friendly toward Russia. So the same, many of them are my friends personally. So this alternative, populist and anti-liberal Europe, conservative, or maybe leftist, because there are some illiberal left that is very positive as well, and the combination that could form the alliance with the right populism, and that is the key strategy to unite all illiberal powers in Europe. And these powers, precisely, they could be very friendly to Trump's America, and very friendly to Putin's Russia. And they should not be necessary against China, because that is totally different. So we could imagine as well Europe as the other very positive pole of multipolar world. It is highly unlikely now. Now we see that as the last refuge of the globalists. So the EU now is the worst. That is the hell itself. So, America 4 months ago was the hell. Now they try to get out of it with Trump, in my opinion. So we could easily imagine Europe getting out of this globalist liberal mess as well. So these forces are growing, and that is very important. They are not pro-American and anti-Russian. They are not pro-Russian and anti-American. They are both for Trump and for Putin. And I think that is example of would-be Europe. It is not Europe that is already there, But that is Europe that could emerge as another pole of multipolar world. But my idea, my theory, I'm making the Institution of International Affairs, University of International Affairs in Moscow, the course called Theory of Multipolar Worlds. And according to my theory, there will be new poles as well, Islamic pole, African pole, Latin American pole, that should be integrated, united in new civilizational states. And we should welcome that. We should not compete with that. We should not destroy them. We should help to them to grow and to be independent and sovereign partners of this reality. So I have described at least as the plan. As well, that was the problematic point in my conversation with Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer has said, why we need to create our competitors? Let's destroy them. Let's divide them.
Yeah.
That's typical
American thinking.
American thinking. Offensive realism.
Yes.
Yes. I want to talk a little bit more about India. Just recently, we see that we just saw the military conflict between India and Pakistan, and India start this conflict, and then Pakistan say, "Let's calm down. I don't want that fight." But now we can see that the conclusion, the result is a disaster for India. 6 fighter jets or aircrafts has been shot down by Pakistani Air Force. And does this mean that India is not that qualified to be called as a great power?
So I think that I agree that is disaster, and many Indians now they are asking why we are a member of Quad, we are allies of Western power, and when there is a war, nobody helped us. So that is correct question. So maybe they did underestimate the role of Russia, of China, and they relied too much on the West. And that is incompatible, I agree, with the great power, but I think the lesson will be taught by to Indians. So they will try to improve the situation, to rely much more on themselves, and to develop their own defense system, not being dependent from the West. And I think that the West has betrayed India precisely. The globalists, they pushed them to be totally assured, and in the first serious confrontation that they did nothing. Israel as well. So the Israel or United States proved to be very, very bad partners, I think. And the second point, I think that you cannot be sure or what will be the result of the war before it starts. So everybody could say we are best, our army is best, but the laws of war are changing, and nobody knows what new challenges will bring new war. So we don't prepare to the future war, we are preparing to the past wars. And we experienced that in our case. So you could not say, oh, we will defeat them for sure. Nobody knows. You could not know before you start. That is very, very tragic element. So I think that Pakistan was much more prepared to fight, and much more on the level, technological and psychological level in this conflict. So India needs to take this lesson and to revise many aspects of its behavior on the strategical level. But my opinion is because Pakistan was supported by China somehow geopolitically, I think that is the lesson as well to India, that China is very serious. You shouldn't underestimate China.
Yes, unfortunately, they never learned. It seems like after 1962, they should learn already, but now they may just repeat the mistakes. Yeah, but
maybe it will close by the more mistakes.
we can start another conversation about India, right? We can talk about it in all
Yes,
day.
I know.
But let's move on.
Yes.
Okay.
So after the interesting topic about the India, we will back to the international order. Okay.
By the way, I have very good relations to India, and I consider that a great country, great civilization.
Yes, we know.
I've studied many years Indian culture, and that's with sadness and not with joy that I make such constatation. But generally, I think that we need two great powers should not be in fight and should not be enemy. So that is my sincere opinion.
China also don't want to be the enemy of the India, but just when we're trying to fix our relationship, the India always said the border issue should be solved first, and then to move on other fields. But China, India, but now they are trying to fix the relationship with China. We are on the right track now. Yeah.
So back to the international orders. So some people confused the question is if the Russia and the Ukraine conflict is ending, they confused whether Russia will choose to rejoin the rule of the game of the Western countries and instead to building the new international order.
So I think that in any case, Russia will follow multipolar agenda. So it is not about how to trade the Western and Eastern axis in that reshaping of the world. And I think that it is not anymore bipolarity. And it is not anymore Westphalian system with national state with each own interests calculated on the national scale. That is something new. And I don't think that this idea to exchange, for example, one line against the other line is valid in this new emerging global powers world order. So it is not about to exchange one or other project. That is idea to create this global powers world order, and nobody knows how it will look like. It is something totally unknown, blue ocean in the geopolitics. It is not just normal continuation of what was before. It is creation of something, imagining of something totally new.
Our next question is about the Second World War. China and Russia celebrate this great victory together, and in the next coming few months, your president will also come to Beijing to celebrate the same victory. So what do you think of the importance for the both countries to safeguard the history?
First of all, that is very important that the victory could not fix once for all in the past. We need to renew that from time to time, and I think that devotion to this victory in Great Patriotic War is very important in Russia and very important in China. So we are united not only by the past, but the same interpretation of past, by the same present and by the same future. Because the victory it is always about the future. Because thanks to this victory, we are independent, we are sovereign, and we need to prove that once more. Now we are under such test and special military operation, and we need now to confirm that we are victorious people once more, and symbolic support of China to our historic memory is of huge, immense value for us. We're very thankful to Chinese people for that and for China's leadership.
Then we see that Russia made a lot of decisions in the past. You guys abandoned the socialist system and choose the capitalist system in the 1990s, and then you want to join the EU and even NATO. But now you have a war with Ukraine and break up with the West and embrace the global South. So what will be happening in the future? What's your next decision?
Yes.
So I think that global south, it is wrong concept. There is multipolarity because in multipolarity could participate eastern, southern country, rich or poor. Everybody will find this the place there, and I think Russia has only one mission to realize, to establish this multipolar world with our friends in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, or in the West. So I think that the West should be established as the West as the part of the world. There's the time has gone to accept that the Western civilization is not the civilization, is just one of the civilizations, and on these conditions. On this condition, they could play positive part, and we should not choose between them and global south. We need to invite everybody to creation of this multipolar, just and fair world order.
So under the new international order, what is the conditions and the tickets for the Russia to become the one pole in the multipolar world? Military power. Energy or AI or anything else?
Everything. We need to. We could not be first pole. We should be one pole among the other, among few. But we need, in order to achieve this goal, we need to develop all these fields. We should not just rely on one thing. That will be unjust. That will be very incorrect. So we need to develop
comprehensive
development.
Okay.
As you
China.
So best wishes. Sorry for.
Thank you.
以上就是我们采访杜金先生的全部内容了。
但是这个问题也蛮圆满，我们问了很多问题，他给予了这个比较详实的回答了，就是后面有些问题可能相对简短一些。
对。
但是我们能从他的这个答案里面听到，他对于俄乌冲突的这个认知至少代表了相当一部分人俄罗斯人的这个观点，跟我接触到的一些人很像，就是他们对于短时间内结束这场战争是非常谨慎的，对，不抱特别高的希望。
没错，同时关于二战的一些观点，我觉得这也是我们此行来到俄罗斯的采访的一些目的。我们也把这些问题也抛给到了他。最有意思的也提到了关于未来世界格局，怎么去看
多极化。
对，
这个有种这个天下英雄为使君与超儿，但是他还有一个人就是还有第三个这个。
但具体是不是呢？我觉得一切都用时间来回答。
而且杜金先生对于很多事情做出了他一些比较主观的判断，我们也提醒各位的看官和观众朋友们，他的观点只代表我们的嘉宾本人。不代表我们的节目，我们只给大家提供一个观察问题的视角和倾听一种不一样的声音。
其实随着我们采访完杜金，此次我们莫斯科行也进入尾声，
对，
这是我们的最后一个 mission。现在就用以前玩那个游戏，就是 mission complete，mission
accomplished。
对，好，那破圈行动莫斯科行动就到这里结束，感谢各位充电看官对于我们的支持，你们的支持就是对我们最大的动力。我们期待下一次破圈行动再走出我们的北京的演播室，再来到类似于莫斯科或者是世界各地的地方，带着大家一起去看世界。
好，那么今天的破圈行动节目到此结束，
我们下期节目再见，拜拜。